I just did 900 miles on the Idaho BDR on this Aprilia Tuareg 660. I also spent 10 hours riding out to the beginning and another 8 hours riding home. So all told, it's about 2,000 miles on this bike. And I feel like after that much time on it, I can deliver at least a semi-comprehensive, coherent review. So that's why we're here. So I'm not gonna waste your time. Let's just jump right in. First, specs, so that we're all on the same page. Let's just talk about what this bike is. The Tuareg 660 has a 659cc liquid-cooled parallel twin engine with a 270-degree crank. It has 80 horsepower, 51 foot-pounds of torque. It's fuel-injected with ride-by-wire throttle and has a 6-speed transmission with a wet slipper clutch. The frame is tubular steel and the engine is a stressed member. The bike weighs 412 pounds dry, 449 pounds wet claimed. The seat height is 33.9 inches. Fuel capacity is 4.8 gallons and the ground clearance is 9.5 inches. Suspension-wise, the front is a fully adjustable inverted fork with 9.4 inches of travel. It's 240 millimeters. The rear suspension, fully adjustable monoshock, progressive linkage, also offering 9.4 inches or 240 millimeters of travel. There are twin 300 millimeter discs up front for brakes with Brembo 2 piston calipers and multi-map ABS. The rear is a single 260 millimeter disc with a Brembo single piston caliper, and the wheels are 21 inches in the front and 18 inches in the rear. These are tubeless spoked wheels standard. Electronics-wise, it comes with the APRC suite, which includes traction control, engine braking, engine maps, and cruise control. It has 4 riding modes: urban, explorer, off-road, and individual. The ABS can be deactivated at both wheels or just the rear. And the display is a high visibility 5-inch TFT screen. And the Aprilia Tuareg 660 retails for $12,500 in 2025. First up, let's talk about what I like about this bike, and there's a lot after riding it for a week in the woods and 5 days on the road. First, this bike has what I would call the absolute perfect amount of power. Plenty to grip it and rip it off-road and pass cars at will on the highway, but not so overpowered that you're spinning the wheel and holding on for dear life. It has power when you want it, but it doesn't seem to have more power than you want. At least for me as an intermediate rider, it always seemed to deliver exactly what I wanted. It didn't surprise me, but when I wanted to go fast, I could. The suspension on this bike is one of the best stock setups I've ever ridden. Now, I don't usually ride the super duper expensive bikes. I try to stick to the mid-range or lower end price-wise bikes, so grain of salt it, but this bike has an unbelievably good suspension. I was blown away by it repeatedly, particularly on the last day on Lolo Pass, because there's just a lot of super rocky technical stuff there, and I thought we're gonna have to slow down and kind of crawl through this. I didn't have to slow down at all. The suspension just ate up every bump no matter how fast I wanted to go, and that was fully loaded with 50 pounds of gear on the back and my overweight ass on the seat. So suspension on this bike is unbelievably good. I am not an expert on suspension, but I know what feels right and what feels wrong, and this feels so right. Never even bottomed out one time, even fully loaded, and the way that it reacted, the suspension, even in the rough stuff, it felt like the luggage wasn't even there. It was really good. I love this red and black color scheme, incredibly good looking bike. There's also like a yellow and a red, white, and blue if you're into that kind of thing, but the red frame here in particular is super cool looking in my opinion. The intake noise on this thing, if you've ever ridden one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In fact, I'll put a clip in here from my shakedown run. That intake noise was one of the first things I loved about it when I test rode it the very first time. It's amazing. It's the best sounding intake noise stock bike I've ever heard. It just makes you want to give it a shit ton of throttle all the time because it just sounds so good. That's subjective maybe, but ride one. Trust me, you'll agree with me. It's 450 pounds, which sounds like a lot if you ride dual sports, but for an adventure bike, that's actually pretty light. Moving it around the garage, it feels light. Riding it off-road, it feels light and nimble. When you get the big fully loaded gear on there, it becomes a little harder to do those two things, but man, this thing feels exactly like my Ibex, and the Ibex is 430 pounds, one of the lightest adventure bikes you can get, so it just doesn't have that overwhelming boat feeling of some of the bigger adventure bikes. It just feels lighter than it is, and I really appreciate that about it. The low seat height makes mounting up and getting your feet down in rough terrain much easier. Admittedly, when I'm doing super duper rough terrain, I prefer a higher seat height because it gets you more suspension travel, but on a bike, I'm gonna load up with gear and just take on BDRs and not like onto the single track trails. I actually prefer being able to get my feet down a little easier. It's easier to swing my leg over. It's easier to if the bike starts to tip because it's a little heavier. So 34 inches is pretty good. It's very confidence-inspiring seat height. The standing position on this bike is super comfortable. It may be the most comfortable stock standing position of any bike that I've ridden. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily 100% a good thing, because what I mean by comfortable standing up is fully standing up, knees locked, fully upright position. That's where the bars kind of sit. It's very comfortable to do that, at least for me. And that's actually not where you want to be if you start getting into more technical stuff. You want to have your knees bent a little and have a little bit more of a crouch. You don't do that on this bike naturally because the bars are so high. So for light off-roading, for just cruising gravel roads, that's great. But if you want to get anything more technical, you got to remember to get down into the ready position. So love it because it's comfortable. Not sure if it's the best thing for difficult riding, but it's great for casual riding. The suspension's fully adjustable. I love that. And there's a dial down here where you can just adjust the preload on the rear while you're sitting on the bike if you want to. I needed to crank it up a little when we started the BDR. After about a day of riding, I was like, I probably need some more preload in the back because I put all this weight on there. 2 clicks, it was golden. If it hadn't been, 2 clicks back, just quick and easy, no wrenches required. Really like that. It has cruise control standard, hard to find on a bike for this much money. It has a bar for mounting your GPS. Another thing I really like about this bike, and I do not understand why more manufacturers don't do this, but if you put it in an off-road mode, and it's easy to switch modes, this is one button. On the fly, you can do it. But if you put it in off-road mode, turn the key off, turn it back on, it's still in off-road mode. Rear ABS is still disabled, traction control is still off. Unlike some other bikes where you have to switch the mode back, or even worse ones like my Transalp, well, not only did you have to switch the mode back, but you also had to go in and then manually adjust the settings every time you switch the bike off to turn off the ABS and the traction control. This thing just remembers and goes. It's great. And if you forget and get back on the pavement, it's 2 button clicks and you're back into the Explorer mode. This bike comes with a USB charger, which is nice. You don't have to add an aftermarket one. It does only have 1 charging port though. I would have liked to have seen 2. We charge a lot of things when we're on these adventure rides. 1 port is insufficient because it's generally that goes to your phone by default. And if you want to charge anything else, you need more ports. I had to add 1. This bike has a ton of low speed and low RPM tractor factor. Great for slow off-road riding and super forgiving of mistakes like you're coming around a corner, there's a hill climb you weren't expecting and you don't have time to downshift, or you forget to downshift and you have to go up in 3rd gear. You can do that. It reminds me of the Tenere 700 that way. So love the twin, love the low down power of the twin. This bike, it can save you in a lot of situations. It's very easy to ride off-road. And this is maybe a minor thing that means a lot to me, but may mean less to you, but the charging system on this was great. So I'm charging my headset, I'm charging my phone, I'm charging my camera batteries, I was charging my jump pack that I was using to charge my phone at night when I was off the bike. And this thing, it was like 14 volts, even with all of those things plugged in while the bike was running, and I could turn the key off and it'd still have 13.5. So the battery is good and it holds a charge well, and the charging system is robust, lots of room to add accessories as far as I can tell. So that's a lot of really good things, a lot of things I really like about this bike. But it's not all sunshine and roses, it never is. So let's talk about what I don't like, the bad things about this bike. And the number one thing, and I complain about this so much, I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing it, but the wind buffeting at highway speeds is nearly unbearable. I rode back from Idaho without doing anything to the windscreen, just the stock windscreen. And even with earplugs in, my ears were ringing for a day, because it's just beating you up. The wind buffeting comes in exactly at like eyeball level. I would have to get a wing or a bigger windscreen for this. I just don't understand why bikes that are supposed to go on the highway don't have better wind protection. It's super weird. Like, I'd rather have none. I would rather take the windscreen off and just be in the naked air than have it hitting me right in the face, which is what happens with this bike. So maybe I'm the only person that cares about that. I don't know, but it was really annoying for me and made me like this bike a lot less. The ride mode names don't make any sense to me. They're not intuitive. Explore mode seems like it should be the slow and easy, just kind of putting around exploring, but no, that's the fast one. That's the equivalent of sport mode, I guess. And like urban is supposed to be the calmer and easier mode for riding around town. I just feel like other bikes have simpler and easier to understand modes like sport and rain, right? I know what each one of those is. Explore doesn't make any sense to me. This is a nitpick, but individual makes sense, off-road makes sense. Explore and urban, what? I don't know what that is. So maybe it's just me. I don't like the names. I don't feel like they're intuitive. I had to look it up in the manual. I shouldn't have to do that. It should be obvious by the name what the intent of each mode is. It does not have off-road traction control. It's basically either on or off, or you can just use the regular traction control, but put it in setting 1, 2, or 3. Now, that's not a deal breaker. When you can get really good off-road traction control on the 790 for $1,000 less, it just makes me wish this bike had it. I don't care a ton because I just turn it off and ride the motorcycle. But that traction control on certain bikes around the same price range is really intuitive. This bike doesn't have a 6-axis IMU. The other two 660s in their lineup, the Tuono and I forget what the other one is, have it. They just didn't put it in this bike because they're trying to hit a price point or whatever. So it's just purely traction control based on wheel speed. And it just seems like you already have that module. You could have included it. But again, a nitpick. I don't care a lot because I just turn it off. It's just a nice feature to have. It's fun to play with. It doesn't have it. Broke the kickstand on this bike. Now, does that mean that the kickstands are crappy and faulty? No. This bike had 4,000 miles on it when I got it. Brett Tax had it before me. God knows what kind of abuse it has endured before I got to it. It's obviously been crashed by one of the press bike reviewers that had it before me. So I'm not saying the build quality is bad. I'm just reporting what happened. The kickstand broke. Bolt that goes into the kickstand, it snapped off. I managed to find the spring, so it's all here. I just spent the last day of my trip using a Moscow strap and having to like reach down and put it on and then lean the bike up against the wall to reattach the kickstand every time I took off. Not a deal breaker, but it is a thing that happened. I also have an oil leak on this bike that I noticed that was getting progressively worse over the course of the trip. Not a massive oil leak, it's just a little bit. I'll put a picture in, not a ton leaked out. And it looks like it's coming out maybe where the wires go into the stator on the left side of the bike. I guess gaskets and oil leaks around gaskets are kind of common on these bikes. I've heard that in a few places. So it's not the end of the world. It's not going to strand you. That's a warranty kind of thing. Just leaves you wondering about long-term reliability and build quality. But it's an Italian bike, so they're notoriously temperamental. So it is what it is. But my Yamaha never did that. That's all I'm saying. There are concerns with the dealer network. Aprilia's website, the dealer locator claims they have 97 dealers in the US. Just as a comparison, Yamaha has 866 dealers in the US, and there are nearly 60 in the state of Texas alone. So Aprilia does not have the dealer network and the support of the other companies, of Japanese bikes in particular. Even KTM has quite a few more than that. The nearest dealer for me is 90 minutes away in Portland. Your nearest dealer, depending on where you live, might be farther than that. It's worth looking at, but you'll have to figure it out to go look at one anyway, so I guess you'll know. Still in the cons, another thing that I didn't like is the front brake feels like it doesn't have as much power as it should. I legitimately thought there was only one rotor on the front at one point until Jeff corrected me. He's like, no, there's two. I feel like this bike should stop quicker and have more brake feel in the front than it does. I'm not an expert on that. I just expected more than I got. Again, not a deal breaker. You just get used to it, but it could have more stopping power up front. And there's no rear mounting point for luggage in the stock form. Most bikes have something back here, grab handles, or not even like a full-on rack, but something that you can run a strap through. I actually had to unbolt underneath the tail here and run the strap through up against those bolts and then retighten down to the bottom of the whale tail. So that's shocking for a bike that's meant to be used as an adventure bike. You can't even mount rackless luggage without messing with it. Again, you can buy a rack, but it doesn't come with something stock, which is surprising. Stock skid plate isn't good. That's pretty standard. It's like, a freaking aluminum can. Would not take a real hit, especially with the engine as a stress member. I'd like to see something more down there. And the stock handguards are plastic and they do almost nothing. Again, pretty standard. You're going to buy your own and put them on there, but just annoying. Why don't manufacturers give you real handguards on a bike that is supposed to have handguards because they put plastic ones on there? I don't know. So that's the bad. And then the mid, like the things that are neither good nor bad but are worth noting. And the only thing I have there is stock tires. The stock tires are the Scorpion Pirelli STRs. They seem to put those on all the adventure bikes. Now, I went ahead and rolled the dice on this trip. I didn't swap the tires because I knew it was going to be mostly dry and a lot of highway, and I haven't really given these STRs a fair shake. I always just assume they're terrible. They're great on the highway, absolutely. They're like street tires. You can push them as hard as you want, and they're fine on gravel and dry surfaces, although on the hard pack with the little rocks on top, I definitely almost low-sided one time. I caught it with my leg. So the ass likes to slide out. There's not a lot of side-to-side bite on these tires, so they're not great for mud or sand. but they're fine on gravel. And just depends on what you want to do. If you want to get into anything more difficult than that, I'd swap the tires out, but they're fine for what they are as long as you know what they are. They do seem to last forever. This bike has 5,000 miles on it, and the tires, honestly, it's still got tread left. So I assume these are the original tires. I don't know. I don't know why you would put these back on if they aren't, but they seem to last a long time, so there's a pro for those tires, I guess. Final conclusion after 2,000 miles on the Aprilia Tuareg 660 is this. This is where my head's at. If you're shopping for a mid-size ADV bike, there's a ton to like here. It's $1,000 more than a Tenere 700, but you get tubeless wheels, cruise control, a bigger fuel tank, and a much better suspension. It's $1,500 more than a KTM 790 Adventure, but keep in mind you have to pay another $500 to $900 for the tech pack to get cruise control, the quick shifter, and all of that. So really, it's only about $500 more than that bike. And the Tuareg has better suspension that's adjustable. I had the 790, put a lot of miles on it. Honestly, feature-wise, this bike is closer to the 890 Adventure without the 6-axis IMU and off-road mode, but this Tuareg is $3,500 less than that bike. It's a lot of bike for the money. I was flying up the technical stuff on Lolo Pass and this thing did not miss a beat. No deflections or other garbage. It made me a better rider at every speed. It's a very impressive machine. It is all day comfortable on the freeway if you upgrade the windscreen and maybe add a new seat. The seat's okay, but it's not amazing. And super confidence-inspiring off-road in a ton of situations. At no point on that trip, all 2,000 miles, did I wish I was on a different bike. I was thoroughly happy with this bike and I would take it on the Oregon BDR tomorrow, or do Washington, or any of the BDRs I've done, even Colorado, I would do again on this bike. It was that good. I really enjoyed it. This is the total package in a way that no other mid-size ADV bike I've ridden is, or at least for the price. It's a hell of a machine at a great price. You get a ton of bike with great quality of life features for the money. Off the pavement, this thing rips. The perfect amount of power combined with a rock-solid suspension means you can tackle the most difficult terrain, even fully loaded, and this thing never skips a beat. Reliability and dealer support are obvious question marks, but overall this is one very solid package that has impressed me time and time again. How much has it impressed me? Well, my buddy Duck Fan, who is so named because one, he went to the University of Oregon and likes the Ducks, boo, and two, he is a Ducati guy, right? So I always give him shit about his Ducati bikes. I am a Japanese motorcycle fanboy. I've owned and ridden Japanese bikes most of my motorcycle riding career. 90% of the bikes I've had have been Japanese and I don't have issues. So whenever he has a problem with his bike, I always jump on it and give him crap about liking Italian motorcycles. I feel it is my duty and privilege to remind him how notoriously unreliable and finicky they are and mock him mercilessly for every single issue he has, no matter how tiny. The first thing I did when we got Lauren's malfunctioning Desert X back to civilization and into relative safety was text Duck Fan and say, haha, Ducati stuck, this one broke down. I'm not surprised. I enjoy this position of self-appointed moral superiority so much that I've never considered crossing that line myself. But I may have already asked our friends at Aprilia about what it would cost to get a new one of these and or purchase this bike specifically, since I believe it is going to auction once I'm done with it. It's so good, I'm willing to Wow. It's so good, I'm willing to risk having all the insults and jabs I've thrown at him over the years, and it's almost 10 at this point, thrown back at me at once because I bought myself an Italian motorcycle. That is where my head is at right now. That is how much I like this bike, and I feel like that says something about how good it is and its unique position in the mid-sized ADV range. So I like this bike a lot, and if I'm considering buying an Italian bike, it must be pretty damn good. Bring it on, Duck Fan. If you have a Tuareg, let us know how it's been for you. How has reliability been? Tell us in the comments. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel for more ADV and dual sport bike reviews, trips, advice, moto camping stuff, and all of those kind of things. Because I'm the dork in the road and I want to be your internet riding buddy, and I'm better than your regular riding buddies because I come with a mute button. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. And please do not forget to be excellent to each other. A thank you.
Excellent!